You ever felt like your emotions were swinging wildly? Like one day you're craving connection, the next day you're avoiding everything? Well, in this video, I'm going to help you understand those emotional shifts associated with borderline personality disorder, BPD, as well as how to spot avoidance patterns. And I'm going to help you learn some strategies to balance some of that chaos, but also manage that tendency towards apathy. So I got the idea for this video from someone who wrote me on my Instagram account, and I thought it was a really good idea. Thought I'd give it a try. So I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope you find it beneficial. So let's get into it. We're going to first talk about emotional shifts in BPD. Now, emotional instability is a central component of BPD. And individuals often swing between clinginess and avoidance, chaos and numbness. And it's not uncommon to feel as though they're almost like a tennis ball in a match, right? So you're getting bounced back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And due to that emotional upheaval, it can be really hard to see what's driving it, what caused it. And what can happen sometimes is because of all of that emotional turmoil, apathy can kick in. And apathy is this false sense of stability to escape a lot of that emotional pain. Let me give you an example. So one day you might feel like you can't get enough of somebody. It could be your favorite person. And you need to be around them, texting, talking, anything to feel close to them. But then something small happens, like they take too long to reply to a text, or they say something that kind of puts you off a little bit. And suddenly it's like a switch flips. You back off, telling yourself, I don't care. It's easier to just be alone. And that pulling away feels and it pulls you into a sense of numbness over time. At first, it can feel good because that sense of isolation can make you feel like you have a sense of control, that you're keeping yourself protected. And it's like you've escaped all that mess that was in the tennis match, right? But over time, it's like you're stuck not feeling much of anything. It's like the apathy sort of generalizes and grows. And numbness isn't really peace. It can feel that way, but sometimes it's a fallacy because that numbness can really exacerbate loneliness, fear, and that BPD and family in the head, which is BPD and family in the head. Family in the head is that chorus in your head that tells you, well, you'll never be good enough. That tells you no one's ever going to love you anyway. This is just, you're just not good enough. You're broken. You're a failure. You're different. You're weird. And family in the head isn't always negative. But for people with personality disorders, family in the head tends to be predominantly negative. So what happens is some individuals choose to go the apathetic route. And that is that, just like in our example, that they almost make a conscious choice to just separate from everything and push down all of their emotions. And seeing this pattern at first is central to discovering what's going on and helping you understand that you do have that tendency. In most people, as I mentioned, apathy tends to be equated with loneliness. And you can end up in what's called a feedback loop of avoidance. And that is, it's this reinforcing of isolation. So avoidance reduces pain, which reinforces isolation, which drives you to feel safer. And you're kind of trading off in a way. So, like relationships equals storms, chaos, loss, sadness, abandonment, rejection, fears, emptiness, all of that stuff. And apathy starts to seem as though it's this oasis. However, don't forget, for an oasis, you're stuck in that empty desert. And what happens is these two perspectives, neither are really fulfilling. And you can end up feeling very lost, very confused, and very empty. Let me give you an example. I love a good example, and I hope you do too. So in this example, right, imagine that you've been hurt by someone close to you. Could be your favorite person, could be someone you have a crush on, you got a little limerence going. And instead of facing that pain, you decide it's easier to avoid people altogether. At first, it feels good. There's no arguments, there's no drama, there's no hurt feelings, anything like that. So the more you avoid, the safer it feels. See, it kind of lures you in. But over time, the safety turns into loneliness, like I mentioned just a moment ago. And it's like escaping that stormy sea, only to find yourself in the middle of that dry, empty desert that I also mentioned just a second ago. And the storm is the relationships, is the chaos. But life, and in order to really maximize it, because we are connection-based beings, that we need to connect to other people. We need to attach to other people. For those with BPD, it's really tough. And I totally understand that. I absolutely get it. I understand the draw to apathy. I absolutely get it. I understand. But the desert and that sense of isolation is calm, but it's lifeless. And neither, whether it's the chaotic sea of relationships or it's the just empty, dry life in the desert, neither feels truly satisfying. But breaking out of the desert and facing the storm again can be the first step towards something more fulfilling. And it doesn't mean you're diving back into that perfect storm, right? Perfect storm with that huge wave and all that you're going back into that, because you have to break the cycle. And in breaking the cycle, it's about re-engaging. It's about casual interactions, or what are called low-stake connections. And when you're stepping out of avoidance, the key is to take small, manageable steps that don't feel overwhelming. Start with casual interaction or low stakes connections, things that don't demand too much emotional energy. Now, here's the thing. Your BPD and family in the head are going to say, well, don't do that. It's a huge waste of time. What are you doing? You're wasting your time on nothing. You're just you're doing this, you're doing that. And it's this internal dialogue of criticism and critique, and maybe it reminds you of a parent or a caregiver or someone from your past or a current partner, whomever it is. But push back on that stuff. I want you to push back on that stuff and recognize that you are rebuilding the skill to connect. And that's the key. And in doing that, for example, you say hello to a neighbor that maybe you didn't before, or you're commenting on a friend's social media post, or sending a simple text like, hey, how's your day going? Just simple outreaches. And if discomfort arises, like I'm talking about, like all those statements inside your head, there are DBT, Dialectical Behavior Therapy, tools that can be really helpful. Distress tolerance skills are great to manage the emotional unease. For example, when anxiety kicks in after you're sending a text, try grounding techniques like deep breathing or holding something cold to bring yourself back to the present moment. And it can be an ice cube. It can be like I have little, I'm going to grab some on my desk here. I've got little like essential oils. This one's kind of nice. It's the Caribbean Escape. That sounds nice. And you can do that, and it can kind of reground you or ground you a little bit. And that can be really, really helpful. Hey, and you can pair this also with mindfulness. Mindfulness is not meditation. Mindfulness is bringing yourself to the present. When you're in the present, you are more in control. BPD and family in the head, they want to distract you. They want to drive you in different directions. But mindfulness, being present, allows you to notice the feelings or fear or hesitation without judging them as good or bad. And this is why you have to challenge that family in the head. I know it's tough because it's been there for a long time. It's like that record that you've been playing your whole life. And it's hard to turn that record player off. But I got to tell you, pick up the needle, man. Pick it up. Stop playing it. You got to do that. And just observe those things that are going on. Don't internalize them. Don't push them away. Just see what they are and take a look and evaluate them. Observe, describe, and participate. That's it. That is essential first step. And allow yourself to calm down and relax and refocus on what's going on. Now, to stay consistent, I want you to think about this. I would maybe try a 7-day challenge to reconnect in small ways. So, if you've embraced apathy, you've removed yourself from a lot of social engagements. Now, I also think we have to judge on who we're reconnecting to. Don't reconnect to people that are going to demean you, that are going to amplify your negative family in the head and BPD stuff. Don't do that. Find healthy others. But folks with BPD are often afraid to engage in new relationships. And that can be the problem, is you get stuck in these old interpersonal patterns that aren't healthy or helpful at all. So we got to break out. So this 7-day challenge is to reach out, expand your interpersonal circle to other more healthy, positive, growth building people. And each day, take a step. So I'm going to give you 7. Here we go. Send a friendly text to somebody. Don't expect a response. Don't say, oh, they didn't write back this meeting. Nope. You're just sending it. You're not sending it to get a reply. You're just sending it. Smile at someone in passing. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean they're going to come over. Doesn't mean that they're going to start. Just smile. Like at the gym, I smile. I smile a lot. And, people often say hi after a while, stuff like that. It's really nice. It's nice, pleasant. I'm a very pleasant, interacting kind of person. Spending 5 minutes in a conversation doesn't have to be all day. You don't have to open up about your history, about your life, about your troubles. You could just listen to what the other person is saying and ask questions about that person's experience. Also, reaching out to someone you haven't spoken to in a while that is a healthy other. You could share a small update about your day to someone whom you want to build a bigger and better relationship with. You could join a group activity, whether it's online or in person. It's always a great idea, expanding that interpersonal circle. Reflect on what felt good and what didn't throughout the week. I started something that every Friday, so I have a little reminder on my calendar, and it says Appreciation Week. And what that is on Friday, I think back about my week and I'm like, hey, who did I interact with and who do I want to say thank you to or express some appreciation? You might find that helpful as well. And the goal isn't perfection. The goal isn't how much they respond, how much they give you, whatever. It's about progress. It's about these small steps that can gradually rebuild trust in connections while keeping the experience manageable and empowering for you. And that's really important because when we go from avoidance to growth, we're bridging a gap and it's incremental changes towards connection. And the way to do this, for example, is you could do what Sarah did. Now, Sarah used to avoid people to protect herself from getting hurt, but the loneliness became just so painful. So she decided to start small, sending a quick text to an old friend, something like, hey, this reminded me of you. I thought about you today when I saw this or that, things like that. When her friend replied warmly, right, responded back in a positive way, she felt like a spark of connection. And slowly she began saying hi to coworkers, inviting someone for coffee, things like that. And along the way, she was using mindfulness to notice her emotions, push back on that BPD and family in the head, and using distress tolerance skills to manage anxiety. Now, over time, Sarah, in our example, she found balance. She didn't have to completely withdraw or let relationships overwhelm her. She didn't dive into the perfect storm sea, right? And she didn't leave herself and bury herself in that desert either. So by taking small, steady steps, what happens is that she moved from avoidance to meaningful connections. And that's what this is about. And I know it's hard with folks with BPD. I get it. I understand it because you have those maladaptive patterns and they pull you back. And you can absolutely manage BPD. It is the most successfully treated personality disorder. Don't believe most of the garbage that you're going to see online. That's garbage and fallacy. It's based on 1970s data. We're not in 1970. We are in 2025 as I'm recording this right now. Now, reflection and moving forward. When we think about how can I move forward and taking a look at my life and where I'm at, what that's about is it's about asking yourself, what's one step toward connection that I can take today? Or what does balancing look like? Is having enough isolation for myself so I feel safe, so I feel good, but also enough connection so I don't feel overwhelmed with loneliness. Growth is navigating between the extremes. It's not about having perfect relationships. It's not about having this thing is exactly as I imagined it, and painting these perfect pictures. But this can be really challenging. So I want you to let me know, comment on some of the challenges with connection that you've had, and subscribe to the channel for more BPD strategies and helpful insights. I hope you find this helpful, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.